Okay. So go ahead and I read over your consultation form real quick.
Yep.
It seems like some normal stuff, territorial behavior, barking. But go ahead and fill me in on Frankie and then like what you're looking to achieve and all that stuff.
Yeah. So she's great. Like I said, like 90% of the time. And then a lot of the like she just runs away when we're at the dog beach. She'll just kind of like find a hole in the wall and kind of bolt. So that's not good.
Oh, that's right. That she escapes the yard or something.
Yeah. And she's super defiant, like trying to get her back. It's not like she's like, oh, okay, I had my fun. It's just kind of, she's like, I'm doing this, and yeah.
Is that when she's escaped the yard, or is this when she's like the dog beach and she like escapes from there?
Kind of both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah, because then I'll try and like go after her and be like, run away from her, try to get her to chase me to come back, and she doesn't.
Okay.
She's like, I don't know, too smart or whatever.
Sure.
And also on the leash, when I am walking her, and there's like another dog coming up, sometimes she'll like kind of freak out at them and like jump up really high and bark at them.
Okay, so leash reactive.
Yep.
On occasion.
And sometimes she doesn't at all.
Have you noticed anything with her energy? Like, is that dog barking, or is it like an excited energy?
So if the other dog like kind of instigates it and is like also maybe a little reactive, she gets like super, like, will freak out and will.
Yeah. But
if the other dog is like very calm, she's kind of matches that energy and is super calm too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then like prey drive, I think you had noted in there.
Oh, what?
Prey drive.
Yeah.
Squirrels, rabbits, stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah. So squirrels are a huge thing. It's kind of hard to walk sometimes.
Sure.
Is there a squirrel? Speaking up? It's okay, huh? Good girl. Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No, other than that, she like chills at home, sleeps. She does bark at the door if she sees like other dogs out there.
Is it like a see-through door? Is there like a window nearby?
Yeah.
Sure.
And I try and like close off the doors that get there. Sometimes I can't. And a spray bottle.
Sure.
I've been doing that a little bit, and that does help.
Okay.
And she like hates that, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
How is she? Well, I mean, it's kind of weird now, but like with guests coming over, is she fine?
Yeah. She's, I mean, she can be kind of, if like a really tall, like my mom is super tall, so sometimes when she comes over, I don't know, she gets like a little spooked, but other than that, she'll like sniff people, like she sniffed you, and then it's all good.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, so we got prey drive, we got escaping the yard, escaping the beach, and leash reactivity.
Yeah.
Those seem like the big things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions, or like, not questions, any other things that I should know about Frankie here?
No, I think that's kind of it.
Have you done any training on your own?
I did a class at Paws, just like puppy training.
Positive food.
Yeah, and that was just kind of like, not super, like now we have different issues. Like she was a puppy back then, and now she's like this grown dog, and has new issues. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But not really.
Okay. How long ago did you get her?
I got her in October of 2019, so like a little bit more than a year.
Okay, so you had her for a bit. So she's what, a year and...
She's like a year and a half, I think, or maybe almost 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's a little bit older.
My girlfriend's dog looks very similar. She's a Pyrenees mix too. She got it from Paws.
Oh my God,
so I'm like, I wonder if they're
like...
related. But her dog was born December of 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you got her in October, you said?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I kept looking at them like they look very similar.
Yeah.
It's just the Pyrenees.
I know. I hear Pyrenees are like super stubborn and very like territorial. Or I like looked online for like, a little bit just to see what the stereotypes are. And that's definitely her. She's super stubborn with stuff.
Sure. So,
I know.
Everything that you're kind of experiencing, pretty normal stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. Before reaching out, I'm assuming you did some research or at least read up on my website about how we train and
I was brother-in-law, he brings his dog here to the park, and he heard from some of his friends here that you were a really good trainer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I got a lot of clients. They live over by where Treves Park is.
Oh yeah.
And they come here sometimes
to
like socialize their dogs.
Right.
And I got clients over here in Lincoln Park as well that come over here sometimes because a lot of the people let the dogs play over here.
Yeah, so, yeah. They live in Lincoln Park and they were like, everybody talks about this guy. So I was like, I gotta get him.
Yeah, so I'll kind of fill you in on how that works. So I specialize, and I see you got a prong collar, which is good.
Yeah.
I use e-collar and prong collar.
Yep.
I don't use prong collar as much anymore. Not because
it's... Just because it's... Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's, it's nothing bad.
Yeah.
It's just it takes more technical skill for the owner to use.
Yeah.
People tend to tense up a lot, and they keep tense. They forget to relax. So with the prong collar, when you pull up, it bites the neck.
Right.
And then when you release, it releases the bite.
Okay.
And that's how we communicate, because dogs bite each other.
Right.
But a lot of times people just keep it tight, and they're just holding onto their dog, so it's constantly kind of biting, if you will. So the dog doesn't know what to do or what not to do.
Yeah.
So, and hers here, I can tell you is actually fitted incorrectly.
Oh.
It's fitted way too loose. Correct. So the prong collar is actually supposed to be up here. It's supposed to be underneath the jaw.
Right.
And like obviously with yours, if you put it up here, it'd fall back down because it has too many prongs in it. Okay. So that one's it's the right. Looks like the right millimeter. Looks like a 3 millimeter, but it just has too many prongs, and it's at the base of the neck. That's where the dog's pulling power is. Because when they pull forward, they put their chest into it. So here, even though you have the prong, it still works to her advantage.
Okay.
Whereas here, if she tries to pull forward, it's not going to happen. It's going to bring her head back.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the biggest deal, but just as FYI. So I train using e-collar. All my dogs over 6 months.
That's like a shock collar.
And I'll explain more of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So people call it a shock collar. It's not electricity. It's not like a taser. It's not like sticking your finger in an outlet. It's a miniaturized TENS unit. So I'm not sure if you've ever been to a chiropractor or physical therapist.
I haven't used that. Yeah.
Have you never had the stim therapy where they move your muscles? Have you ever seen the commercials where they have where you sit in front of the TV and it works out your abs?
Oh yes.
So that's that's a TENS unit.
Oh, so,
so it's the same technology.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's electric, but not electricity is how I explain it to people. Because people usually think they're shocking their dog.
Right.
Or like the electric chair, or like a taser.
Yes, it's got some bad connotations.
So that's why I when I hear the word shock, I always deter people from it because it sets the tone, right? So they use the technology on people. They use a lot in muscle rehabilitation. They use a lot in sports therapy.
Okay.
I had a client who had a lot of scar tissue on her muscles, and they used it to bring up the scar tissue.
Oh, cool.
They use it to rebuild strength. So let's say you haven't you broke your arm or something, you put it for a long time. You're not just going to get up and start using your arm. They have to build the strength, and they use the current to slowly get the muscles to contract and get used to being worked.
Okay.
So it's the same technology. It's just a muscle stimulator.
Okay.
You can go to Walgreens and look in the back section or like the back pain section, and you'll see it's called TENS, and they have TENS units that you can now buy at Walgreens for your back and stuff. So it's used all the time, but people either through lack of education or not knowing think of it as electrocution.
Right.
So the other thing is when e-collars first came out, they were not as refined as they are now.
Okay.
Before they used to have 5 levels, if you will, and now they have 127. The difference is 5 and 127 are the same. It's the same power, but I have 122 more divisions now. Whereas before it was just very big jumps, right?
Yeah.
It's also very similar to the electronic fence or bark collar, except those operate differently because for electronic fence they don't want your dog escaping the yard, so they operate more harshly, right? Because we don't want the dog escaping.
Right.
The training collars that we use again have 127 levels. That's fine-tuned to the dog's personality.
Right.
Okay. So, and when it comes to the behaviors you're dealing with, the trickiest one is her escaping the yard. Okay. Is she ever left unattended?
Throughout the day or just outside?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, once a dog learns how to get out from something, good luck.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're gonna keep going back to that spot. And I speak from experience. I used to live in Texas.
Yeah.
And I used to have my dogs outside, and then my chow mix was an escape artist. She would always find the out. Okay, and we moved a couple times, and she always found the weak spot, right? So if they're not going to be attended, it's kind of like with kids. If you leave them alone and you come back, next thing you know, they've written on the wall,
Now they
type
know.
of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't recommend that people leave their dogs unattended.
Okay.
One, just as a general rule, because people do steal dogs. Also, if she gets out the yard, it just takes one time before like crossing the street at the wrong time for something bad to happen, right?
Yeah.
Now, is there a way to correct that behavior? There absolutely is. It's just not a guarantee.
Right.
And I'll talk about more about opportunistic behavior later. Is because if you're not there, she's like, well, mom's not here. Who's going to stop me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she's going to be very inclined to, of course, attempt to escape again. Okay.
Okay.
The reactivity stuff is actually one of the easier things to address.
Mm-hmm.
Her escaping the beach easier because you'll be present with her.
Right.
We can definitely stop that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the prey drive, squirrel drive shouldn't be an issue unless she just happens to be super crazy prey driven. Okay. Because that has happened. It's rare, but it does happen. Where a dog is just insane for a rabbit or squirrel, and that's her genetic code. Okay, I can't change that code, but what we can do is control it. Okay, so she's a predator. She's meant to hunt and all that stuff.
Right.
She's also meant to guard because she's got Pyrenees in her. That they were used to like guard farmland or whatever.
Right.
So those things we can definitely control, but we can't remove them from who she is. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in your case, the first thing I would cover, as with most of my cases, is just how to walk correctly on a leash. So when you walk her, is she a big puller, or is she like kind of a...
She can be, yeah.
She can be?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of like smell, and then something interesting and kind of
something. Yeah.
Yeah, or I mean sometimes she's great too. She's kind of got a wide range of, like if I can keep her like this and she stays right here. I run with her sometimes.
Sure.
So it's and she's great at that. I think the fast movement is great, but when she's bored,
she sends a BB.
Yeah, she's like, she does pull.
Okay, so we definitely want to fix that. So most people, when they walk their dog, they see it as the dog's time. Let the dog sniff everything, pee and all that stuff, right? Right. And I understand that because, we're inside all day and we want outside to be the dog's kind of free time. However, that actually creates behavior problems. Okay, and I'm not opposed to giving dogs time to sniff and all that to be a dog. Right. It's just I'm putting it on my time. So if I walk with my dogs for 30 minutes, they're at my hip. They're not doing anything else. They're just walking with me. When I stop and I say break, they go, they pee, they poop, they roll around, sniff the ground, chase squirrels. They're good. And then when I say all right, let's go, and it's back to heel position for 30 minutes, we're walking straight back. Right. So there's a lot of discipline involved, and the discipline is actually what helps resolve all these issues. Okay, the lack of discipline is what creates issues. Yeah. So discipline is like the don't do stuff, right? Like when we're walking, don't sniff the ground, or don't jump at squirrels, or don't bark at dogs, right? It's all the don't stuff. And then all the the do stuff is the obedience. Sit, stay, down, come, place, heel. Okay, put your butt down. Right. Lay down, walk with me, come to me. Right. It's all. They're all like to do actions, and it's a balance between these things. So with the heel command, my style of heel is very strict. When I take 5 steps, the dog takes 5 steps. If I take 1 step, the dog takes 1 step. When I stop, the dog automatically sits. This was the complete slack, no tension, so I don't want to hold the leash tight. I want the dog to have the length of leash to make those decisions, okay? Because that's how we teach. People tend to shorten the leash and just walk with the dog, and you would have more leverage because you do have a prong collar. Yeah. But if you switch it to like her flat collar, and you had a standard leash because you have like kind of a bungee one, which kind of gives in the pressure, you would really feel just how much like she's pulling. Yes. Yeah. So when we get that level of focus from the dog, that's actually what helps alleviate the reactivity issues. Okay. Now, in some cases, the dog will still be reactive. It happens. So it just means that my original exercise didn't help fix the problem. Right. So then we have to correct the dog for the behavior itself. So. Have you ever seen, like with her, when she's playing with dogs, maybe when you've seen dogs play, like they'll snap at each other? Kinda, yeah. Yeah, so that's a correction. Yeah. Like let's say a dog is mounting another dog. You might see the dog being mounted, turn around and like snap at the other dog. Yeah. That's a correction. Okay. So it doesn't mean the dog's aggressive. The dog's just saying, hey, back off, don't mount me. Yeah, like, hey, I don't want this. Exactly. Yeah. So they use physicality. So humans, since we have conversation and language, like we can say like, hey, don't do that, that's disrespectful, or hey, don't do that, that's like, you're incriminating on my space or whatever, right? Right. And that person could then back off, or that person could then not back off.
Right.
Right? And then things could potentially escalate. So even humans can resort to physicality as well. We just happen to have language that can resolve issues sometimes, right?
Is this so boring for you? Sorry.
I know, yeah, she's getting frustrated.
Yeah.
So for dogs, it's all about physicality.
Right.
You know, so they'll growl, they might curl their lip and stuff like that. But ultimately, if there's no compliance, it might escalate to like a dog bite or a dog nip. It doesn't make the dog aggressive. They're just saying, hey, don't do that to me. Okay?
Yeah, that's their communication.
Correct. So let's say she became reactive, and let's say the other dog was being reactive to her first. I get it and I understand it. Like, that dog's putting out threat, so you just want to defend yourself.
Right.
But doesn't mean it's acceptable. Right? Like, we can still correct and disagree with it.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Yeah. So then here with the e-collar, I like to refer to it as like a bite on a button. Is if she starts to become reactive, and what we've done, the training that we've done, if that didn't help fix the problem, then we have to correct her directly for the behavior. Meaning you have to like bite her for being reactive.
You have to like talk their language.
Correct, right?
Yeah.
So like prong collar, you know, the reason why it looks like that is because it's meant to mimic a dog bite.
Right.
You know, it looks like teeth.
Little like, yeah.
So like right now when she like started barking, I saw you kind of pull her in a little bit. The way it would actually be used was you would snap the leash so that you create this very quick
like little,
closing motion. And that bite would have been to say, I disagree with you barking, or I disagree with you getting frustrated. You know? Now the issue is, if the dog is too far gone in the behavior, the prong collar won't do anything. Because she could be like at a 15, and if your harshest correction is a 10, you're not going to match the 15, so then you're never going to override her. Okay, so that's a very common problem with the prong collar as well. So like given this here, right? Yeah, she's seen the squirrel right there, right? Yep. So like that you could technically correct.
Like, yeah.
Right.
Well,
but it would have to be
meaner.
firmer to where, to that, to deter her from that behavior, right?
Yeah.
So that's the other issue with prong collar is because it is physical. People tend to get uncomfortable with it because they're the one actually doing the correction.
Right.
As opposed to the e-collar, you're pressing a button and there's a disconnect. You know, there's a correction, there's a muscle contraction, it can be very intense as well, but because it's not coming from you, people tend to take it more, it's easier for them.
Yeah. Okay.
So, with all the behaviors that you're experiencing, the first thing I do is with the heel command, I go, what does this fix?
Right.
Okay, because the walking a dog correctly,
so heel isn't like, hey, you're over here, come here.
No, that's come.
That's come.
Yeah,
so heel is
recall.
like, stay here.
Yes.
Okay.
So like, here, you see how she's kind of looking around and stuff? So, because she doesn't have any direction at the moment. Right? So she's technically free to do as she pleases. But that's why we're getting this frustration. Right. Because she doesn't want to be here. She wants to be over there. Right? She wants to be around. So when we have focus, like if I had the same dog and I had just an e-collar, what you'd most likely see is she'd be laying at my feet, not caring about anything, because she's focused on what we're doing. Does that make sense? So the heel command fixes usually about 70% of problems. Okay. So whenever I get cases like this, I go like, all right, I know what you're dealing with. We're gonna do the heel because that has to happen. Yep. That's what teaches dogs how e-collar works. Because so if you put an e-collar on a dog and you press the button, what you would see is the dog will start walking around because they don't know where it's coming from, and if anything, they try to run away from it. Okay. So the heel command is a walking command, is a moving behavior, right? Walk at my side. Right. It's a moving behavior. So because e-collar makes dogs move, we use a moving command to teach her how it operates, how it turns on, how it turns off. Yeah. And then we start to shape things. Okay. Because there's discipline behind it, it helps settle her brain down. So she's calmer. So here she's scoping out over there. Potentially that off-leash dog. Where's the owner? Is that the owner right there?
Right there. Yeah.
So, but yeah, you can see how she's still locking on, right? Right. So like with the e-collar, you would press the button, and you could disagree with that behavior. Okay. So then you avoid this escalation because this is frustration. Right. This is her saying, I can't get to the dog. Yeah. And I need to do something about it. Okay.
I'm kind of glad she's doing this so you can see.
Yeah, I've seen this for 10 years, so I'm used to it.
You don't need to see it, but yes, this is what happens.
One thing I'd be mindful of is that you don't want to pet her afterwards.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because that's technically rewarding the behavior. Okay. So when you pet her praise, you're saying do that again. Okay. Yeah. So if anything, I would just ignore her. Right. And then, I mean, technically you could use this to correct her, but because you have that bungee, it would take away some of your...
So like a flat, or not Just
you
like
just
not
need a
like
flat
this.
leash,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
a regular, either like $10. You know, they're super simple.
Right.
I know why people get these, but when you're going into training mode, they work against you.
Right.
Okay. So I see, what does the heel fix? Okay. I expect that it'll help fix the reactivity, and then the prey drive stuff when she's on a leash. Bless you. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Or when she sees squirrels and stuff, it'll help tone that down. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we see, what do we need to work on next? The escaping from the beach would be different. Okay, so teaching her how to walk would not teach her to not escape from the beach. So what we would do is, the weakness or wherever the spot is where she usually hops over.
Right.
So the moment you see Frankie making her way towards that, you would actually just correct her there. And so she's thinking, I'm going to go to the hole and I'm going to escape.
Right.
And then with the e-collar, you can go, no, you're not going to do that.
Yeah, like bad.
Yes,
bad.
right?
So this is a dumb question. Can the e-collars go in the water?
Yes.
Okay.
They're fully waterproof.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Not dumb question. It's a good question because it's electric, right?
Yeah. Or I guess it's not electric though.
Oh, I tell people it's electric, but not electricity.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so with the, it's fully waterproof. The one she'd need, you'd either have it a 1 mile to 3/4 mile range. So plenty of range for the average family pet.
Like if she ran away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And both which you wouldn't, because she'd be trained.
She'd be like,
yeah, she'd be trained. But both your remote and the receiver or the collar are fully waterproof.
Okay, cool.
So they're made for hunting dogs, so that's why they have such a long range.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So that would be, so for me growing up, I was raised old school, I was spanked. So, if I didn't do my homework, or if I talked back to my mom, or I didn't do my chores, I got spanked for all of them. So it was one consequence for a multitude of behaviors, right?
Right.
Same thing for dogs. If one dog mounts a dog, or jumps on a dog, or barks at a dog, bite.
Right.
It's one consequence to get them to stop that behavior. Okay. So for the e-collar, stopping behaviors is simple because it's simply don't do that. I don't care what you do at the dog beach, just don't try to escape.
Right.
Right. But what happens is we may not see that because once she's had discipline and been formally trained, like right now she's like elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The dog is more in tune to you so that we don't even see the runaways. Okay?
She's like, this is our bubble.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
We have a bubble, right? So when you're at the dog beach, you have a 30-foot bubble, whatever, because it's an open space, she's off leash, right?
Right.
Now, is it possible she could still try to go? Absolutely. That's why I said, we see what does the training fix, and what it doesn't fix, I teach you how to stop. And it's very simple. It's just, don't do that. Okay? So like with the barking, trying to escape the yard, reactivity, it's just, don't do those things. So it's just a consequence.
Right.
Okay? But a lot of times the discipline behind the obedience with the e-collar helps fix the problems. Because it's just a lack of discipline that most dogs have issues with.
Yeah.
Almost all the dogs that I train, the problem is no discipline. Because no one, quote unquote, like spanks their dogs. Right? It's usually redirect or distract them with a treat or like give them a toy. Yeah.
It doesn't really work.
No, because nothing's saying don't do that. Right? So it might help for a moment to redirect the dog, but then the dog goes, all right, this is boring. I want to go back to running out the beach again.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Until there's an aversive that says if you try to run out, there's a consequence. Now the dog goes, oh, maybe I don't want to run out the beach because this consequence is negative. I didn't like it. Okay?
Right.
That's what aversives are meant for. Have you ever touched a hot stove?
Yes.
Would you do it again? No, that's an aversive.
Yeah.
Right? And the stove is an inanimate object, but you touch it, you go, oh wow, that's hot. Better be more mindful around the stove when I'm cooking, right?
Right.
That's what aversives are meant for.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. And it sounds like she'll get a little bit more, like, because right now she doesn't have a whole lot of freedom because she can't do anything. Because I'm like nervous about so much stuff.
Correct.
So I'm excited to have a solution that's like not like a spray bottle, like don't run away. Like it will actually work.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this for 10 years. I've built my career on using e-collar. So the reason why I just train with e-collar is there's a number of different methods. Okay. And you have food only. You have prong collar, and then you have e-collar would be like the most popular. Okay.
Right.
Food only. Super low ceiling, not ever successful to create reliable obedience. Okay. 2, prong collar much better. However, once she's off the leash, we're stuck with no control again. E-collar is the only tool that can guarantee control on and off leash, but also in emergency situations. So like, for example, I had a client here, her name's Narenga, her dog here. Her dog's named Roxy, and she's like a pit mix.
Yeah.
And one day they were playing ball, and her dog and another person's dog went after the ball at the same time. And it triggered a fight. Yeah. And she just kicked in with the e-collar and maxed it out and tapped her dog, and her dog immediately went 80 out of the situation.
Oh, nice.
So she called me, she's like, Jesse, I'm so stressed, you know, and she's like, I had to max out the collar on Roxy, but this is what happened. And I said, yep, that's how it would work. Because it's either you gamble, I'm like, she's like, because her dog yelped. It was uncomfortable, right? Yeah. But I was like, it's either you would have left the situation to escalate, or she yelps, and it's not gonna like puncture her, like it's just a muscle contraction. And she 180s out of the situation. Yeah. Right? I've had several people, their dogs ran away because of fireworks. You know, like randomly someone just sets up a firework, and then their dog got spooked. You can override your dog and make them return. And that's what I train for.
Right.
Okay, so I don't care about like the paw rollover type stuff. Like I don't use a remote for that. Like who cares? What I care about is the functional stuff. Sit, stay, down, come, place, heel. 6 commands. Now, whether or not you train all 6 is just your preference. Right. What I focus on is what you need. Okay, so I don't teach stuff that I don't think you're going to use. So I'll ask you questions because I'm trying to get a feel for like what is it, what I think your life's going to look like with your dog. Yeah. And for some people, it's like I walk my dog and I go to the dog park and that's it. And I go, okay, then you don't need all this extra stuff. You just need these couple of things, right? Yeah. But if it's like I walk my dog, I go to the dog park, we go to the dog beach, we go hiking, we go to restaurants, we go to my friend's house, if my dog is with me all the time, then you need more control, right? Yeah. So I'll give you options and kind of explain what you can expect within that control. So what you're dealing with is pretty straightforward. Yeah. Okay, unless she happens to have crazy prey drive, which I don't think so because I saw that squirrel over there and I saw her look, it didn't seem too bad. Right. Okay. Is you're probably if you're just like really focused on the essentials and fixing the problems, you're like in the 6-week range, okay? Or 6 class range. Yeah. So I have 6, 9, and 12-week programs. You're in that area. So with 6 classes, what I would expect to get done is 2 classes are going to be based on the heel. Okay. And we see what does that fix. It should fix the reactivity. It should help taper down that prey drive. And if that's the case, then I go, great. Now we're just going to continue with what we were doing because my theory is discipline behind the obedience is going to fix your problem. Okay? And then you're my feedback, and you're the one that tells me yay or nay. Okay? So if by the end of the 2nd class or the 3rd class when I see you, you're like, Jesse, reactivity is still a problem, then I go, okay, no problem. We're going to make this adjustment now. Okay? So every week I work with you. You go home, you practice for the week. Right. And then you come back and you say 80% of the reactivity is gone, whatever. We just struggle with like dogs that bark at her, or whatever. And I go, okay, normal. We're gonna make these changes now. Okay. You leave, you come back to class 3. How'd it go? Even better, Jesse. I'm like, excellent. You know, so we'll just peck at it over time, and eventually it'll just, you know, we'll have control over it. Right. If not, then we'll spend a class on how we correct behaviors, which is very simple. It's just education. It's like, I guess, like a class on how to spank your child, but for a dog. And it's really straightforward.
Sorry, Frankie.
It's really common sense. Yeah. Okay, it's just common sense. Like, if I correct the dog and the behavior keeps happening, what does that tell me?
Yeah, that it's not the right correction.
Exactly, it's not the right correction. The dog needs more. So if I'm correcting her, so my collar goes 127. Right. If we correct her at 25 and you come back like, Jesse, you didn't change her behavior, then I go, okay, we're gonna go to 45. And if you come back and you're like, hey, we're about 50% better, I go, great, let's go to 55. Right? We're just kind of working our way up until we find that number that's gonna get her to behave herself. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. And then we'd work on the recall, which is common called. Yeah, so that'd be 2 classes in itself. And then so if, like, let's say everything was pretty straightforward. 2 on heel, 2 on the recall, which leaves 2 left over, right? Which could be towards you know, correcting the behaviors, me teaching you how to prevent her to like stop running out the dog beach. Very simple. Yeah. It's just information. Because if I went with you to a dog beach to show you, it'd literally be like a 1-minute exercise. Right. So it's like, here's the information, you go practice it, and we use the hour for something more beneficial. Okay. Okay? Yeah. Escaping from the yard, again, if she is unattended, expect her to attempt or get out, right? Now, can we correct the behavior? We absolutely can. but we would need a camera set up. So you would be inside and you could watch your dog. And we would have to correct the behavior when we see it about to happen. The problem is, you'd still have to be mindful of her, right? Because since she's unattended, 2 months could go by, and then she's gonna be like, what about today? Can I escape today?
Right. Like you always have to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So that's but when you're like the dog beach and stuff, it's not a problem because you're gonna be present.
Because you're there.
Okay?
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
And so that's called opportunistic behavior.
Right.
So one of the most common questions I get is, when does the e-collar go away? And I tell people, when you need it, it doesn't. Okay. So if you see any of my clients here or over on the lakefront, you'll see their dogs still with their e-collars. Okay. Now they're not having to always use it because they've done their training, but it's there just in case something happens, right? And just in case that firework goes off and spooks my dog, it's okay. I have control. Correct. Do you drive?
Yeah.
Do you go on the expressway?
Sometimes.
Do you go the speed limit?
Sometimes. Yeah.
Most people don't go to the speed limit, right?
I don't actually know the speed limit on that. So maybe I don't.
It's usually like 60, 70. So if you're going more than that, then you're not going to the speed limit. Most people don't go to the speed limit, right?
Right.
And then we get mad when we're caught behind someone who does go to the speed limit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you see a squad car, what happens?
Slow down.
Slow down.
Right.
Because that's called opportunistic behavior. If there's no threat of consequence, why do I have to do it? Right. And driving and speeding is the most common thing that people kind of push.
Right.
So we see a squad car, we go, oh, we might get a ticket, right? I might lose my license or whatever, so I'm going to slow down. And then once you pass the trooper, you go back to speeding again, right? Same thing for dogs. With the e-collar on, she's going to behave herself. It's kind of a cop on a collar is how I dump it to people. But then when it's not on, she's going to push the boundaries, right? But if she's a good dog inside the home, you don't need it. But if she's going to be outside, you're going to be on a walk, if she's going to be in the yard, you're going to want to have it present, right?
Right.
So that's what I was talking about the yard. I'm like, if she's unattended, even with the e-collar, yes, it'll help keep her in check, but dogs, because they're meant to bite each other. Like, you give her the harshest correction, and like 2 months later, she'll try it again.
Right.
Okay. So that's just how that is. Unless you have like an electronic fence put up around your yard, then that's different. But then she'd always have to wear the electronic fence collar. Okay.
Right.
So, but all the other stuff was pretty straightforward because that would all be stuff that's happening when she's actively with you. So that's not a problem. Okay. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Questions so far?
I see a lot of, well, this isn't a question, I guess. I see a lot of people with the e-collars walking around with their dogs off leash. I'm like, that looks nice.
Yes.
I mean, we're so far away from that. But that's just it like seems like a nice thing.
So with the e-collar, I think earlier touching on it, she'd have more freedom.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend, she actually lives over by Travis with the Great Pyrenees. I trained her dog. And her dog was very scared and wouldn't walk. Okay? And her video's on my YouTube. Her name's Luna. If you want to watch it, her name's Luna. And she wouldn't even come out the car. She literally had parked right there for the consultation, and we're standing because her dog would not come out the car because she was so scared.
Really?
Okay? Wow. And within the week, she was able to walk around with her because the e-collar helped her override her fear. And now she walks her off leash all over the place. And you might even see her in Lincoln Park.
Like Great Pyrenees?
She looks like her, but she's more white, and she's got a mask, a brindle mask.
Oh, cute.
But they look, the face and the ear placement, all that stuff is all pretty much the same. But yeah, she does so much more with her dog because before she can even walk her because she's so scared.
Right.
In your case, you would do more because you'd have more control. Right. So that's what it's meant for. Yeah. People talk about it as a bad thing, but all my clients who have done e-collar training with their dog do so much more with them. Yeah. Because that's what control is for, right?
Yeah, I would love that. That sounds amazing.
So with the 6 classes, I'm fairly confident the stuff that you propose, whatever, we can get that addressed. Yeah. We would the 2 most important commands are the heel and the come when called. Yep. That every dog should know. Everything else is kind of superficial unless you're going to be using it. Okay. So with the 9-week program, that's kind of I walk my dog, we go to the dog park, and I go to my dog to restaurants. And the 12-week program is I do all that stuff, plus I go hiking with my dog. My dog is off leash all the time. Okay, so that's all commands, all Todd's, okay? So
do you think she would be, do you think we should do like the 6 weeks and see?
That's completely up to you. Yeah. I already know what I can get done. Right. Okay? Most of my clients, their ceilings are pretty low because they're thinking like, well, I've done this other stuff and it doesn't work that well. I'm like, but e-collar is the ultimate training tool. Right. Now, if you can do 6, you can do another 6, absolutely. I don't care. Right. The only difference would be if you do 12, you get a lower per
pricing.
class rate.
Yeah.
Correct. If you do 6,
right.
you would pay for the 6, and then when you come back to do the other 6, you would pay for that same price. So you'd be paying more. Okay.
Right.
I've had people say like, no, Jesse, I want to train my dog off leash. Can I do 6 now, do my training for a bit, and then come back to finish the other 6? I go, absolutely. I don't care. But they're just committing up front, saying.
It'll just be the 2 different prices. Yeah.
Correct. Right. So you can pick and choose and break it down however you like.
Right.
I know that with the 6 classes, the stuff that you're dealing with, as long as you're doing the homework, as long as you're practicing and reinforcing it, we'll get the result.
Right.
The biggest thing that holds people back is they don't go high enough on the collar because they feel bad. So like, let's say escaping out the beach or whatever, and you're telling me you've tried it. You're like, yeah, Jesse, like I used 65, and she still kept running towards the fence or whatever.
Yeah.
Then I would say go to 110. And then I see you another week, and you're like, oh, she still tried it again. And I go, well, how high did you go? And you said 75.
80.
And I'm like, that's not 110, right?
Yeah.
So that's
She's
the biggest
a big girl.
factor.
Yeah.
And that's an extreme. But I tell you that stuff because if you're not ready or committed to like give the consequence needed in order to stop a behavior,
Right.
we're not going to get anywhere. Okay.
So does it hurt like just like a muscle contraction, like you're saying?
Yeah. So like, the higher you go, the more uncomfortable it becomes, for sure.
Right.
Have you ever seen like the labor contraction pains in men?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually a tendon.
Oh, so it's okay.
Yeah,
that makes
because
sense.
but labor contractions are painful, so they have to recreate the intensity, right?
But it's not like striking a nerve or something.
No.
Yeah,
So I've worked with dogs that have seizures, dogs that have heart murmurs, dogs that have medical conditions, stuff like that. They're all perfectly fine.
Okay.
Because it's just stimulating the muscle it makes contact with.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, I put the highest powered collar on my neck and maxed it out 127. It was very uncomfortable. It sucked. I don't want to do it again.
Right.
But
you corrected your behavior.
Yes. Like, but I'm not. You know.
You're not like.
Like,
you
oh
didn't,
my
like,
god.
keel
Yeah,
over.
I didn't like exactly.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm all for the e-collar.
Okay. Yeah. In 10 years, I've not seen it have an adverse effect on any dog, physically or physiologically.
Yeah.
One thing that we do see in the beginning, because no one likes discipline, is you might see what looks like mopey or depressed behavior. Okay.
Like she's mad at you for doing this.
Kind of, but
Yeah.
that's how people kind of interpret it. But dogs don't think that way. Like, dogs don't hold resentment like people do.
Yeah.
Dogs are all about the present.
Right.
So the reason why I say mopiness or depressed, because that's how people call it, but it's really their dog being calm, but they're not used to their dog being calm. So they call it depression. And I'll tell them, but
and
you know,
it's just not depression.
yeah, it's not. But no one likes discipline either.
Right.
Like, I didn't walk away from a spanking smiling.
Right.
So, because that's the intention of discipline. So here, the more you expose her to the e-collar, the faster she gets over it.
Okay.
What people tend to do is they see their dog, and like, let's say we did the class, she's going to be stressed because it's uncomfortable, it's a stressor, okay?
Right.
But once you expose her to it and you keep exposing her to it, it builds her confidence up. You know, so like my girlfriend's dog was a completely insecure, fearful dog, and now she's super confident. She like runs all over the place.
Yeah.
Right. But it's against how people's brains work. You know, it's counterintuitive to them until they see it. Okay.
Right.
Which is why I also with like filming everything now, it's great because like you could go home right now and pull up any of my client videos on YouTube, and lesson 1 is always a good one to watch because no one knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll see in real time, uncut, unedited, just how it works and how smoothly it works, okay? Now, if you see one that looks a little bit more difficult, or like the dog's very vocal or something, that is most likely a behavior case. Because I get, like your dog's reactive, but this reactivity isn't like anything like I see. You know, like, I get really bad reactive cases.
Right.
So those dogs are gonna look much different than like the average dog that just needs obedience, okay? But that's definitely a good resource for you if you want to just learn a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
It's just go to our YouTube channel and just pick the lesson 1 and click it and watch it. You know.
Okay.
I also do more in-depth videos. I think it's under my playlist, client highlights or training highlights.
Okay.
Right. I talk more in depth about a case, and I break it down, and you can kind of it's clips with me talking, as opposed to like just a lesson that you have to watch the entirety of in order to get a feel for it. Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
All the reviews that you'll see on our business page and stuff like that are all people have done e-collar except for like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So like everybody, once they've done it, they're like, I would not ever have a dog not trained on an e-collar because of all the control that you get with it.
Yeah.
So,
that sounds great.
any other questions?
No, I'm excited about, especially the recall.
Yeah, recall has
yeah.
and with any program that you choose, I give you the tools to build a recall to be off-leash reliable. Now, recall does take people the longest to teach.
Yeah.
Okay, heel is the fastest because you walk your dog multiple times a day,
right.
so you practice multiple times a day. The recall takes the longest because it requires you to go somewhere. Like you'd either have to come here or you'd have to go to like the lakefront, and then we'd have a long leash, and you'd have Frankie on the long leash, and you'd let her be a dog and be free, and then you got to practice. Yeah. Okay, so recall does take the longest. It's just part of the process, but you will get it to be off-leash reliable. You just have to practice. Okay, the length of time that it'll take for you to get her there just depends on how much you practice. If you practice once a week, it's probably gonna be a long time.
Right.
If you practice 3 times a day, you'll get there much faster. Okay, but then we also have to think about practicing around distractions, squirrels, dogs, rabbits, you know, things she hates or whatever, in order to get it to that degree. Okay, but it's a very simple process. It's just a matter of getting out there and actually, you know, reinforcing it. Okay. Other questions?
Do we meet here every time?
So you have a couple of choices. So I worked here in the summer.
Yeah.
Because have you been to Oz in the summer?
Yeah.
Crazy busy.
So busy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were training here in the summer.
I guess that's good. So
and
for the distractions.
Oh yeah, it was perfect. Like it was a real, you know, a realistic environment. So people loved it.
Right.
But now you see, like Oz has died down.
Right.
And it gets colder because of the lakefront. We get the wind chill, whatever.
Yeah.
So we can meet here. We can also work at my facility, which is in Logan Square. It's a 13,000 square foot space.
Yeah.
My training floor is like 5,000 to 6,000 square feet. So it's, you know.
Oh, cool.
We can do everything there.
Yeah.
So
I'm in Ravenswood, so that's a little closer.
Oh yeah, we're right off the expressway. I don't think there's an expressway that goes through Ravenswood, but we're right off of Western University.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a lot
easy.
closer for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have we'd be indoors. We don't have to worry about the weather or anything like that.
That's nice.
And people like one concern they had was like, well, if we train inside, is it going to transfer outside? And the answer is yes, because you just have to change your number. So if your number at my facility was lower because we're indoors and there's not the distractions there would be outside, it just means when you're outside, your number's going to be higher. Okay. So once you learn how that all works, it's really, again, just common sense. It's pretty straightforward.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much does Frankie weigh?
59 pounds.
So you have 2 choices in terms of what I would recommend for the e-collar. One runs about $287 with tax. The other one runs about $325-ish with tax.
Okay.
They're pricey, but they'll last a very long time.
Okay.
I've had mine for going on 8 years. No issues.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The most common issue that we get is the battery does die because it's a rechargeable lithium battery. So if it dies, you just go on the website, you purchase the one that you need for your collar or your remote, and they send it to you $15, $20, you replace it, good to go.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
So is one more for like a heavier weight?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So one is 70 pounds and under, one is 70 pounds and over. Okay. The reason why I say the second one, the more expensive one, is because since she has thicker fur, you want to make sure that you're able to get through that fur, especially in an emergency scenario.
Right.
So it's worth the extra like $40, $50 that you'd be paying.
Yeah.
Again, that one would be the 1 mile range. It's 1 mile range. There's something else about and it's a higher powered system.
Okay.
So, and all that means is compared to the other one, your number would be lower. So if her number is like 60, for example, on the lower powered collar, your number would be 40 on the higher powered collar.
Okay.
So you have a little bit more kind of wiggle room, again, in case of an emergency.
Yeah.
Because that's what I train for. Like if you can handle an emergency situation, life is easy. Okay. And then Maria will give you the information for those.
Okay,
You can get them on Amazon.
Yeah.
They come with a 1-year warranty, and I think you can extend it to a 3-year warranty.
Okay.
If you'd like. But she'd give you the information, and you just go online and pick them up.
Okay. So when, I'm sure we'll go over this, but when you have the e-collar, do you do it like right before the behavior, or if you like see it coming, or is it right afterwards, or?
Oh, like in the correction stuff?
Yeah.
So.
I guess we'll go over it.
Yeah. So the timing doesn't matter as much as people think it does. As long as it's not like 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
It can be just before, during, or just after.
Right.
Okay. So e-collar gives a bigger window than other training methods. Ideally, you'd want to do it as the behavior's happening or just before. Okay. Ideally. It's like if let's say she hopped the fence, like you don't want to correct her after she's hopped the fence, right? Like it's like
she's like gone.
She's gone. But ideally before. But if you see she's just about to do it or she's getting ready to, you can also correct her as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Other than that, it's really your, your preference.
Yeah.
I know in 6, the heel, the recall, the 2 most important things that apply to you.
Right.
That will also help resolve the issues that you're dealing with. If everything is going great, and you're like, Jesse, this is awesome, and we have 5 and 6 left over, and you don't need to know how to do the correction stuff or whatever, or we've covered it and it was really easy, then we can teach something else.
Okay.
Like a stationary command, which is like, go here and don't move. So that would allow you to take her to like a restaurant or something like that. But I always focus on the priorities first. Make sure we get that out the way, and then once we get the priorities done, then we can cover any kind of like extra stuff that you may want to learn.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, not that I can think of right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what will happen is Maria will reach out to you. We've had tons of consultations come through.
Yeah.
So she's trying to get back to everybody as quickly as possible. Yeah, I think normally like we've had like 16 to like 20 consultations booked.
Oh man.
Yeah, which is a lot.
I think it's just like New Year. People are trying to.
Yeah, something's up because it's out the ordinary. Usually I average about 10 consultations a month.
Oh yeah. Wow.
And we get more requests, but usually 10 about move forward, and then a chunk of them will book training.
Right.
But almost everybody that's submitting the form has been confirming it. So, but I'll get in contact with her, and she'll follow up with you.
Okay.
And then she'll get you set up, and she'll send you the training form. She'll send you the make and models that I suggest. You can pick and choose which one you want to get.
Okay.
My suggestion was you just spend a little bit more.
The bigger one, yeah.
Get the bigger one, or the more powerful one.
Right.
It's actually a really nice collar. I didn't like it.
Do you keep the leash on the e-collar?
No, you could use your leash either on her flat collar, or you could even use it on your prong.
Okay.
We wouldn't clip it to the e-collar because it would affect the contact. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
So once you're confirmed and booked, you'll get an email from me with like videos to watch.
Right.
You'll just watch the videos. You don't need to do anything to prep you for the training class. So once you come for training, we're just ready to go.
Okay.
Okay. So we don't waste any time like just talking about the collar and all that.
Right.
Yeah. We can just jump straight into the training. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Emma, it was a pleasure meeting you.
So
if you
nice
have
to
any
meet you,
questions,
Jesse.
you let us know. And like I said, feel free to go to our YouTube channel, refer to our videos, give them a watch and stuff, educate yourself a bit more.
Yeah.
And then we'll be in touch.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I think this is going to be great.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's going to be hard, but like, I mean, she's not horrible, but she is like, she's got some issues.
Yeah.
Probably from me, probably from,
It's just a lack of clear communication.
Yes.
A lot of dogs have issues because of the lack of that communication. So once you start speaking her language, it's going to get a lot easier, and you'll be doing a lot more stuff with her.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
We'll be in touch,
nice
okay?
to meet you. Okay.
Take care.
Bye. Thanks.